I'm in this strange but extremely fortunate position where I frequently get offered new clothes because of my YouTube channel. Whether that be part of a paid campaign or just a brand trying to get their name out there. But just to be open with you, I honestly turn down the majority of these offers because they don't align with my personal values around fashion. I'd be silly to turn all of them down because it's a job in something that I actually really love. But at the same time, I want to balance that with my personal philosophy of believing that I don't need piles and piles of clothes and shoes. I love the idea of buying something well made and wearing it over and over again so it gets beaten up in my own personal way. And being well made, hopefully it will last for many years and maybe even have a way of being repaired. Items like this are often called buy it for life. I think a lot of people who watch my videos have the same approach, or at least want to start getting into that style of thinking. So today I'm going to talk about how I go about it, and hopefully you find some value for your own journey. Number 1 will serve you very well going forward. Buy clothes and shoes that are made of better materials. What I mean by this is that in general, natural materials are going to feel, perform and wear better than synthetic alternatives. And by natural materials I mean things like leather, cotton, wool, silk. I found that focusing on pieces made of better materials has stopped me buying so much stuff that I don't need, mainly because I'm just so happy with what I actually have. For example, after picking up my horsehide leather jacket from Aero, I've pretty much not even thought about wanting another leather jacket since. But before I got that, I had so many synthetic leather jackets, and I was constantly looking for new ones because they never felt substantial enough. You'll also find that things made of better materials generally have much higher quality construction and a more considered fit. Because no manufacturer wants to waste good material on something that's going to look bad and fall apart within years. I think another hidden advantage of pieces made of nicer materials is that they're not reliant on external factors like trends, for example. You can buy any style, old or new, in higher quality materials at any time. Natural materials are also going to be way easier to repair or maintain. Denim can take a beating and be stitched up. Leather can be scraped but then polished to look new again. Whereas a synthetic alternative would probably fall apart and become unusable. This allows you to wear natural materials a lot longer, meaning you don't have to buy as many of them. And when they do reach the end of their life, a lot of naturally made things are recyclable, which is a huge bonus. While some synthetics are recyclable as well, it's a lot more difficult. And also producing them is harsher on the environment versus something naturally made. Now I've said a lot there about the benefits of natural versus synthetic materials, but just to be open, I'm not overly strict on it. If something happens to be a blend, it doesn't automatically mean it's poor quality. If it looks good and feels well made, I'm still open to buying it. I have to be realistic, it's increasingly difficult to avoid synthetics as a whole these days. And sometimes they actually can improve a piece. For example, vintage 50/50 blend t-shirts are some of my favourites. They just fit so well. Also, a bit of elastane in a pair of pants can increase the comfort by 100 times. I'd say these blend pieces only take up a small portion of my wardrobe though. If possible, I'll stick to natural materials because I just think they're better made and I'll get a lot more out of them. This sounds silly, but I've made a really conscious decision over the past few years to actually wear my clothes. I think a combination of working from home and general laziness made me get into the routine of basically wearing my pajamas every day. And this extended into going outside. I would just wear joggers and a hoodie and didn't make much effort. Of course there's nothing wrong with that, and sometimes I still do it. But nowadays I often make a point of wearing my proper clothes around the house, or indeed at any opportunity when I go out somewhere. It makes me feel happier and more confident, and it just looks nicer as well. Another thing I used to do was not wear certain clothes or shoes because I was scared of ruining them. This was usually with my more expensive pieces or something made of a luxury material that was difficult to maintain. So they would just sit in my wardrobe collecting dust until I grew out of them, or they just weren't my style anymore. What an incredible waste of money that was. I now only buy things that I'm happy to get worn and dirty, which of course results me in wearing my stuff way more often. Speaking of getting things dirty, I've become really comfortable with the idea of my clothes becoming aged, distressed and faded over time. There's something very satisfying about wearing something until it's worn down or showing clear signs of use. I guess some people might see this as messy and unprofessional, but I think of it as an expression of personal taste and style. A way to look unique and tell people what you're about without telling them, if that makes sense. And just because clothes are old and faded doesn't mean they have to be dirty and smelly. They're simply just showing signs of natural aging like the rest of us. And that links back to why I love natural materials so much. They show the best signs of use and age. Another reason why I love wearing the same clothes every day is because it sort of pulls you out of that trend cycle. I don't often feel a need to buy anything new unless it truly adds something different to my collection. You'll also start to look different when everyone else starts to look the same as they follow the same trend cycles. This can be seen as a good and bad thing. It's all about perspective really. For me it means I've found my personal style and I don't need to buy as much. And I can just stick to wearing my existing clothes for longer. So I've talked a lot around buying nicer quality clothes and better made materials. And it's really easy to just say that and assume that everyone can afford to go out and acquire those things. But let's be honest, it can be very expensive and unrealistic to do this. I'll buy those items when I can, but it's not always feasible. So there's two workarounds here. Firstly, buy vintage or secondhand. I know a lot of people won't touch vintage because they don't like the idea of wearing somebody else's old clothes. I kind of get it, but also not really. Like I said in the last point, it's not like the items are dirty and still warm from the last person wearing them. They've been cleaned up, or at least they should have been. If they haven't, then those sellers need banning. But buying vintage and secondhand has given me the opportunity to wear the types of clothes I'd never have otherwise been able to afford. Really high quality stuff that I know is going to last me for years, and that stops me from buying so many unnecessary clothes and shoes. The second way to approach this if you don't have as much money to spend is maybe even more important. Try to stick to pieces that are not going to go out of style anytime soon. The term timeless is thrown around a lot and I know quite a few people don't like it. Perhaps a more palatable term is classic. This refers to pieces that are well established in the fashion world. Think straight cut jeans, a well-fitting t-shirt, knit jumpers, loafers, work boots. Things that are not going to dip in and out of trend. Because although you might not follow trends, a lot of the world does. So buying something that's trendy can make you look and feel outdated really quickly, which may stop you from wearing something as much as you'd like. This may lead you to buying more stuff to fill the void, and that's when you can start to get into a bit of a vicious trend cycle. I'm not saying avoid trends by any means. I did a 2025 trends video last week and there's a few pieces in there that I'm thinking of getting. I still allow myself to have fun with new and interesting styles, but to keep me from buying so much and ensure I wear the clothes more often, I try to ensure that the majority of my wardrobe is made up of classic pieces. So that's my take on how I try to buy less clothes and shoes and instead wear what I already have more often. I'd love to know if you guys take the same approach, or is there something else you do? Or are you not bothered by any of this? Please do let us know down in the comments. But anyway, thank you very much for watching and I'll see you next time. Ta-ra.